Ever since I went to Nepal in 2007, my biggest dream was to go climb Everest and go climb some of those peaks that I saw in the Himalayas when I was 9 years old.
We started out in 2007 on Everest with Everest Base Camp, and it turned out that he had a fairly unnatural love of just being out there.
By age 12, Matt had set 3 world records, 2 as the youngest person to summit the highest peaks in Europe and South America, and another by climbing all 50 U.S. high points in an astounding 43 days.
You know, it's not really about breaking records, it's more about my passion for climbing and my love of climbing and my love of the sport.
I don't get the sense that he's out there trying to be necessarily the youngest or the first. If those things happen, then so be it. But I think his motivations are very much at the core, where he is interested in having this experience on the mountain in this really wild, uncontrolled landscape, and he's trying to push himself through all of this.
Now, with some major high-altitude and multi-peak expeditions under his belt, Matt was ready to tackle the holy grail of mountaineering, the Himalaya.
This was the first trip that I really had to take a lot of time off of school.
You get to 10 years of teaching and you think you've seen every kind of student. So to have his father and him approach me and say, Matt's gonna be gone, at the end of the year, he's gonna go climb Everest. It was like, all right, well, that's amazing. So what can we do to help you do that?
So I did a lot of my classes ahead of time. All of my teachers were happy for me and super psyched to work with me and helped me try to finish up the semester of school with missing 2 months of it.
Him and his father were very adamant that he actually finish school. You don't usually hear that from a 15-year-old.
We always say that the first priority is school and second priority is climbing. We were in Choyu Base Camp for around 44 days, and I studied every single day of those 44 days. The 888 expedition, we were planning on climbing 3 8,000-meter peaks, Choyu, Everest, and Lhotse. We decided to climb Choyu first.
The goal was really 2 primary focuses. One, test Matt to make sure he's going to be safe on an 8,000-meter peak before he gets on Everest, which is a complicated peak, lots of things going there.
A lot of people just go to Everest, to go climb the world's tallest peak. We really wanted to show everyone that we enjoy climbing, and it's not just about breaking records.
The other incredibly important aspect of it was the opportunity to acclimate on Choyu, which allowed us to then go fully acclimated to Everest Base Camp and leave from Everest Base Camp and go right to the summit.
And then in 24 hours, go from the summit of Everest to the summit of Lhotse, and then hopefully try to ski down the Lhotse Couloir.
Then the unthinkable happened. A massive avalanche roared down the Khumbu Ice Fall of Mount Everest, killing 16 Sherpa. What was the deadliest day in the mountain's history?
The first hour or so was a general state of shock, sadness.
We spent the next few hours with the sat phones, and we were all calling the family members.
It was tough. I don't think we recovered for probably 30 days.
When you have such a tight community that experiences such great loss, you could imagine how the sadness just percolates from base camp to base camp.
And it became increasingly clear that it was not going to happen on the south side of Everest.
I'm sure it was very difficult for them not just to know that people had died, but also to see a little bit of their dream be crushed in the process.
And then Matt, I felt so much heartbreak for him because I know how excited he was and how much of a dream it was.
Before Matt left for his trip, I penned him a quick letter, and I wanted to give him some bits of advice that I wish someone had told me before I left on some of my big trips. I hope your training has gone well and that you feel ready. I hope that things line up on the mountain and that you're able to do everything that you'd hope to. Your father's a realistic and calculated guy, so I'm sure he has emphasized that it may not. In the Himalayas and other wild places, we're just a guest and we're not in complete control. Be confident and strong, but humble.
For about a few days, I was really upset, and I was thinking back to Everest, and I just couldn't get it out of my head. But then I think it was one morning that I actually woke up, and I looked at Choyu, and the sun was rising over Choyu. And I was like, I'm in Tibet, I'm climbing the 6th highest peak in the world. I kind of realized at that moment that, climbing wasn't really about just bagging the highest peak. It was really about just kind of having that experience.
And our cure ultimately was Choyu.
Pretty psyched.
And realization that we had to climb this peak, and it was slapping us in the face and wake up. This is not going to be an easy climb.
I was so excited. Literally, the summit day on Choyu was amazing. We all summited together. It was such a fun experience. Right after we summited Choyu, we had a fully acclimated Sherpa team, and we were fully acclimated. So it was kind of an obvious choice, let's go climb another peak.
We come to climb multiple peaks. That was our style. It was unthinkable that we wouldn't try to put together something else.
So we're like, why not go climb Makalu? As soon as we flew into base camp, we realized that Makalu was not an easy peak.
You can go to Everest really as an amateur. I guided that mountain 3 different seasons, and we had people that had never climbed a big peak before. You should absolutely not go to Makalu until you've paid your dues.
Literally looking at the route, you see these super exposed ridges, tons of rock and ice, and we're like, this is gonna be a serious climb.
It was really impressive to watch how quickly they were able to establish camps, move from one camp to the next, and they really, pulled off probably the most brilliant climb of the season by reaching Makalu from advanced base camp to the summit in 4 perfect days.
While we were on Makalu summit, we actually saw the sunrise, which was just an incredible experience. Just seeing all these peaks around you, and you could actually even see the curvature of the earth. That was an incredible experience.
So we just summited Makalu. Summit right over there. Yeah, it was pretty fun.
I don't know what Matt's going to do next, but I think that the most important thing is to understand what these adventures meant to him, because the true essence of any outdoor adventure is not reaching the peak, right? It's actually taking what you learned on the way to the summit and applying it to life back at home.